My name is Lemuel Dela Cruz, and my part is consist of the story of Nisus and Celia, similarities between Samson and Hercules, the legendary personage in myths and history, and the story of Odysseus. So, the first topic is about Nisus and Celia. Nisus, in Greek mythology, king of Megara, a son of King Padion of Athens. His name was given to the Megarian port of Nicaea. Nisus had the purple lock of hair with magic power. If preserved, it would guarantee him life and continued possession of his kingdom. When King Minos of Crete besieged Megara, Nisus' daughter Celia fell in love with Minos, or in some account was bribed. She betrayed her city by cutting off her father's purple lock. Nisus was killed, or killed himself, and became transformed into a sea eagle. Celia later drowned, possibly at the hand of Minos, and was changed into a seabird, possibly a heron, constantly pursued by the sea eagle. Well, in comparison to the story of Samson and Delilah, Delilah is the lover of Samson and was also cut his hair, and Samson also loses his strength and his other possessions. And moving on to the next topic is the similarities between Samson and Hercules. Hercules and Samson share many similarities. They were both born out of unordinary circumstances. Samson was born to a barren woman who was visited by an angel. From conception, Samson was special because he was a Nazarite, or a man dedicated to God that wouldn't touch strong drink or cut his hair or beard. Hercules was born to Zeus' mistress Alcmene, and was special from birth because of his father, the greatest Greek god. Hercules demonstrated his strength as an infant when he strangled two snakes. Hercules and Samson had the involvement of gods, or a god, which they either inherited or even given certain powers from, in their lives since conception. They were both born into conflict. Samson was born in a time where the Philistines were dominating his homeland of Israel, and Hercules was born into a hostile environment surrounded by Hera's attempt to kill him. Throughout their lives, both Hercules and Samson overcame many obstacles with their great strength. Samson killed 30 Philistines, set 300 foxes on fire in the Philistines' field after discovering his wife had been given to another, broke his bonds when captured, and killed 1,000 Philistines with a donkey's jawbone. Hercules completed 12 challenging labors, rescued the princess of Troy from a sea monster, and helped Zeus defeat the giants, battling for control of Olympus. A striking similarities between Samson and Hercules is that they both defeated a lion. Samson used his great strength to kill a lion in Tema, and Hercules killed a lion at the hills of Nemea as one of his 12 labors. Hercules and Samson's first marriages both failed. After Samson killed 30 Philistines, his father-in-law gave away his wife to another man. Thinking from Samson's rage that he no longer wanted her as a wife, Hera put a spell on Hercules when he was a young adult that made him temporarily crazy, causing him to kill his wife. Megara and their two kids Samson and Hercules both loved their wives, and the ending of their marriages were a very tragic indeed. The two both had strong dramatic reactions as a result of their grief. Samson, reacting with anger, set 300 foxes on fire in the Philistines' field, and Hercules, reacting out of guilt and depression, sought out Apollo and asked him to be punished for his crimes. Hercules and Samson were both faced with the death of a woman. Delilah found Samson's weakness and informed the Philistines' lord of it, who once Samson was weakened, gouged out his eyes and captured him. When the Philistines' lords were making fun of Samson's in their temple, he grasped the middle column that the temple rested on and pushed with great force, killing himself along with many others. Hercules' second wife, Deianira, accidentally poisoned him, causing Hercules to choose death over life and ask his friends to build him a funeral pyre and then light it. Hercules and Samson both ultimately chose death over life. Samson gathered the last of his strength to bring the Philistines down, no longer being able to bear their mockery. Hercules could no longer endure the pain that the poison cloak was causing him, so he favored being burned alive rather than suffer anymore. So, the third topic will be the legendary personage in myth and history. First, Zeus. His Roman name is Jupiter or Jove, the sky god. Zeus rules Mount Olympus. His weapon is the thunderbolt and his bird is the eagle. The central figure of the myths, Zeus epitomes their complexity at times. He is divine and represents a pure, eternal sense of justice. At other times, he is capricious and cruel. Next is Hera. Roman name is Juno, Zeus' wife and his sister. Hera is a very powerful goddess known mostly for her jealousy. She is often vicious and spiteful, and it is usually Zeus' infidelity that incites her. Many unfortunate mortals endure hardship by provoking Hera's wrath. Third is Poseidon. Roman name is Neptune. The god of the sea, Poseidon is Zeus' brother and second only to him in power. Poseidon holds a decade-long grudge against Odysseus. The often cruel and unpredictable violence of the sea is assumed to be a result of his anger. Hades, his Roman name is Pluto, the brother of Zeus and Poseidon. Hades rules the underworld, the realm of the dead, with his wife Persephone. Pallas Athena. Roman name is Minerva, usually just called Athena. This goddess emerges from Zeus' head, fully grown and armed, associated with war, cleverness, and wit. It is no surprise that she favors Odysseus. Athena is the goddess of wisdom, reason, and purity, and is chaste, like Artemis and Hestia. Phoebus Apollo, usually just called Apollo, and a son of Zeus and Leto, and Artemis's twin. He is the god of light and truth, the master of poetry and music, and the god of archery. His oracle at Delphi is revered for the powers of prophecy and truth. Artemis, his Roman name is Diana, Apollo's twin sister. Artemis is the beautiful huntress goddess and like Athena is somewhat masculine. Artemis is normally good and just but demands a human sacrifice during the Trojan War. Aphrodite. Her Roman name is Venus. Aphrodite is the sweet and delicate goddess of love, beauty, and romance. Even so, she often shows formidable power, as in the story of Cupid and Psyche, and is herself a principal cause of the Trojan War. In a strange twist, love, lovely Aphrodite is married to a ugly and crooked Hephaestus. Hermes. His Roman name is Mercury. Hermes is the son of Zeus and the Titan Atlas, daughter of Maia, the messenger of the gods. He is fast and cunning. Hermes is a master thief, the god of commerce and the market, and the guide who leads the dead from earth to Hades. Ares. His Roman name is Mars, a vicious god. Ares is hated by both his father Zeus and mother Hera, the god of war. He is always bloody and ruthless, yet we see in his vain bullying that he is also paradoxical, a coward. Hephaestus. His Roman name is Vulcan or Mulciver. Hephaestus is either the son of Zeus and Hera, or simply of Hera's alone, who gives birth to him in retaliation for Zeus' solo fathering of Athena. The only ugly Olympian, he is also partially crippled. Hephaestus is the armored and smith of the gods, and he forges spectacular magical objects. He is kind, generous, and good-natured. So, the last topic is the story of Odysseus. Odysseus, the trickster hero. Odysseus was a legendary hero in Greek mythology, king of the island of Ithaca and the main protagonist of Homer's epic, the Odyssey. The son of Laertes and Aticlea, Odysseus was well known among the Greeks as a most eloquent speaker, an ingenious and cunning trickster, one of the suitors of Helen. Odysseus was obliged to join the Trojan expedition, something he didn't want to, since he was more than happy alongside his wife, Penelope, and his newborn son, Telemachus. And he knew from a prophecy that if he goes to Troy, it will take him a long time to come back home. So he tried feigning madness, but Palmades exposed him, and Odysseus had no choice but eventually coming up with the famous stratagem which decided the outcome of the bloody conflict, the Trojan horse. Afterwards, he set sail for Ithaca, but after blinding his son, the Cyclops Polyphemus, he angered Poseidon so much that the sea god did whatever he could to obstruct Odysseus' journey homeward. After numerous memorable adventures, Circe the Sirens, Scylla and Charybdis the Lastrygonians, Calypso, Odysseus finally managed to reach Ithaca, 10 years after leaving Troy and 20 after joining the Trojan expedition. There he reunited with Telemachus and Penelope, and after killing all of his wife's suitors, reclaimed his throne. He died an old man, probably accidentally killed by Telegonus, a child he had fathered with Circe during one of his many adventures. and Odysseus' role in the Trojan War. From a discussion between Priam and Helen in Homer's Iliad, we know that Odysseus was shorter by a head than Agamemnon, but broader in his chest and shoulders. Physically unimpressive, though wouldst have deemed him a churlish man and naught but a fool. On sight, claims Priam, but when so he uttered his great voice from his chest, and words fell like snowflakes on a winter's day. Then could no mortal man besides vie with Odysseus. Then did we not so marvel to behold Odysseus' aspect. He knoweth all manner of craft and cunning devices, conquers Helen, this illustrious Odysseus of many wiles. Unsurprisingly, Odysseus' main role during the Trojan War was one of the crafty strategist and a wise advisor. He was the one most capable of maintaining the morale of the Greeks at a high level, and one who managed to prevent the bulk of the Greek army from withdrawing from the war. After Agamemnon's plan to test their determination by allowing them a leave had backfired tremendously. Odysseus was also the leader of the three-man expedition sent to appease Achilles, who, enraged at what he had perceived as unfair treatment from Agamemnon, decided to leave the battlefield. However, this doesn't mean that Odysseus didn't prove his worth as a warrior as well. Together with Diomedes, he captured and killed the Trojan spy Dolon and killed the Thracian king Rhesus during a dangerous night raid on the Trojan camp. He also captured the Trojan seer Helenus in order to learn from him a few conditions upon whose fulfillment the fall of Troy depended. This included the recruitment of Achilles' son Neoptolemus and the wounded archer Philoctetes, Philoctetes, in whose possessions were Heracles' bow and arrows, and Odysseus played the central part in both. Odysseus and the Trojan horse. Odysseus' main and most memorable contribution to the successful conclusion of the Trojan War was the devising of the stratagem by which, after a decade-long war, the Greeks finally managed to enter Troy. It involved the construction of the Trojan horse, a huge wooden sculpture inside whose hollow belly the greatest of Greeks' celebrated heroes hid. After leaving the horse near the gates of Troy, the Greeks pretended to sail away. Initially confused, in time, the Trojans started believing that the war was over and that the horse had been a divine gift. So they wheeled the sculpture inside their city gates. They spent the whole day joyfully celebrating their victory and dancing around the horse. However, once the night fell, the Greek warriors hopped out of the sculpture and opened the gates for the rest of the Greeks who, under the guise of the evening, had managed to sail back to the shore. Before long, the Greeks stormed at the unsuspecting drunk and practically defenseless Trojan, slewing many of them, and finally winning a famous and conclusive victory. Odysseus' cruelty. Odysseus was sometimes unreasonably cruel towards his enemies, which is why, as much as he was adored by the Greeks, he was reviled by the Romans, who knew him as Ulysses and considered themselves Trojan descendants. Certainly, Odysseus' most vicious act happened just after Troy had fallen. Fearing some kind of future retribution, he urged for the death of Astyanax, Hector's little boy. Some even say that it was Odysseus himself who killed Astyanax, possibly throwing the infant from Troy's walls. In addition, Odysseus never forgot his grudge against Palamedes. According to some authors, he faked a letter from Priam and falsely exposed him as a traitor, after which he and Diomedes stoned Palamedes to death. Others claim that the two comrades fooled Palamedes into descending a well under the premise that a treasure lay hidden inside. Once Palamedes climbed down the well, Odysseus and Palamedes started throwing rocks at him, eventually burying him at the bottom. And that's the end of my part. Thank you.